Hello, that's the fire alarm system, is the main panel. That's the 5-loop panel. This is 1-loop panel that connect together to the AOV system. Over there, where the main entrance is the repeater panel. Where the fire will go off, of course, you have to come over here to log into a panel. Just press tick. To log into the user, you have to press 9-8, 9-8, tick again, and you can reset the system. Then system will gonna reset it. Also, when there's a fire, one of the detector will go off. For example, this one. You will see on the panel which zone is that and where the actual detector it is. That's the main thing. If you will see which one it is, you have the 5 minutes investigation period on most of the areas. Then you can go to the place, see what's going on. If there's any risk, you can, you know, alert the people what happened and evacuate the building. Also on the panel, if it's something happening here, you've got the emergency number where you can call and ask for help. You will see on all of the panels actually the location of the fault where it is in the building. Then, because they are connected to each other, then you will see on all of them. In the future, it's going to be connected to the red car, which is going to straight.
So will they?
Yeah, send signal to the fire brigade. Yeah, red car is a connection between to the company. They will gonna inform the fire brigade actually. Yeah.
Okay, this is the CCTV system. You've got 14 cameras at the moment. You've got 3 on the outside, and the rest are within the in the complex. So when you move the mouse on the screen, it brings up like the current how much the days have been used up on the hard drive and what's left, and it brings up the time and date as well. If you can double click on the screen, and it will bring the image up a lot more clearer. If you double left click again, it takes it back to the multi-screen. You also have various different layouts at the bottom here, where you can change to 4 to 9-way and to 16-way, so it's obviously the best way to have it. The blue icon on the screen there is showing where it's doing real-time recording. We've actually set it up so it's motion recording primarily, and then it drops back to normal time-lapse recording once the motion area has been untriggered. And that's this displayed there by this green icon on the screen here. So when that green icon goes off, that means it's gone back to normal time recording. The cameras are all descripted within where the areas what they're looking at. To do play together footage, if you right click on the screen and left click on search, and that'll take you back like to the last sort of hour's recording. And there's an icon along the toolbar, it's a Q sign. If you click this, brings you into this menu here. So at the moment it's searching for an archive device. Because I don't have one plugged in, which I'm going to do now. USB into that. And what you can do, if you go to search, if you do dates and time, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to yesterday when I was using the system. So if you use the arrow keys to move across the date, so I'm going to change it back to yesterday's date, so the 24th, and I'm going to do the time of 10:34, so 20 seconds, and push OK. And when I push play, that'll go back to then. When you want to do put a clip onto a USB device, say for instance, I'm going to do, this is me walking, and I'm basically going to be going into this room. So I've paused it there, and what you need to do, you need to tag the clip that you want to do. So you've got an icon down here, which is like a back arrow, with a line underneath it. So that's the start of the clip. Then you unpause it and allow the clip to play. And it shows me going out the door, and it shows me coming out to the main entrance. And what I'm going to do is pause it there again, and then I'm going to do the other tag point, which is the fast forward function and the line underneath. Push that. Once you do that, it'll take you into the archive menu, and you can see now it's found my USB stick, and it's brought up all the list of the cameras, and it'll show you the time there. So it's 10:34:28 to 10:34:46. So it's like a 20-second clip. When you're doing footage, it's always going to be short. It's never going to be hours and hours of footage. It's only going to be like a short segment. Keep the file type as exclusive, so that will basically that burns the software program to your USB stick and all the cameras. And if you do calculate archive size, that basically tells you the size of the file. So it's 46 megabytes. And then once you're happy with what you got, if you click transfer, it's making the archive file, so it'll take a few moments. You see the percentage going up. And once it's done, that's been written. And if you right click, that'll take you back out the menus. To come out of the search menu, if you push the stop button, move the mouse down to the toolbar and push the stop button, it takes you back to live mode. This is the server machine, and you can also have other client machines running from this as well, which you'll be able to add tags and modify settings on the system as well. So this is the landing page. If you click on doors, it brings up a list of the doors. So you've got the door name, and it's basically the status of it, telling it's okay. You can actually control the doors from here as well. So say for instance, if I double click on one of the doors, and you can actually open the door from here as well by clicking on open door. It just gives you some basic settings of the door. So the door group it's in, how long the door's open for, the token type we've been using and the reader type. If we go to now users, and basically what I've done at the moment, I've created one user department called apartments. So basically I've created 100 tags. So I've done basically 101 to 117, 201 to 217, 301 to 317, etc. So it's basically one tag per apartment. Okay, so how to add a user. So when you go into the users menu, double click on new user, brings up this new window. Take your tag, present your tag on the reader, and you'll see under token number, you'll have a number generated in there. And it'll tell you the token type, which is a key fob, which is what it looks like. And you need to give it a name, so we call this one test 2. Department, we're going to put him into the maintenance department. And the access level, we're going to give him all hours, all doors. You can add as many details as you want, email addresses, postal address. Nobody really bothers doing that, but you can do that if you like. Once you do that, click Add User, and then close this window. And then you'll see in the maintenance department that test number 2 user has been added into the system. Under that user, you can check the events of where they've been going to various doors. So if that one was presented to the reader, you'll see that that user will come up under the screen there. It usually takes a few seconds for the system to see the event come through. If you click refresh and then go back into events, you'll see he's gone then to the G.21B corridor from reception at 12:41. So that's a way of checking an individual user, what they've been doing throughout the day, what doors they've been going through. The client wants to know whether you can use this system remotely, and that can be done. It just needs to be connected onto the building's network and allow port forwarding on the router, and then you can set up Paxton software on a remote machine in anywhere in the world. And you can add tags and connect to the system and configure it remotely. But as I say, none of that's been put into place yet, but it can be done.
Okay, so we're looking at the reception area, and there's a number of different systems we've got in here, which are controlled mainly from the cupboard here. Start with the heating side of things. So what we've got is a heat interface unit in here for this area. So again, it's been fed by the district heating system from the main plant room. Same principle, it's purely heating only in this area. There's no hot water coming off the heat interface unit. But it's feeding a couple of areas, one of which is radiators, which are round in the kitchen area, around in the hallway, and the meeting rooms at the back to provide heating into those areas. Controlled by the time clock here, so it's on a time control. Okay, and there's also a thermostat located behind the concierge's desk, just looking at the temperature then of the area. The individual radiators themselves then have got the thermostatic radiator valves on them to control the temperature in those particular rooms. Okay. The other part that the HRU provides heat to is some ventilation units which are up in the ceiling, and there's two within the area. One within the main reception area here, and also one round in the gym. So what they're doing is providing the ventilation to the area. They're heat recovery units that are transferring heat between the incoming air and the outgoing air. But they've also got a heating coil on them as well, just to temper that incoming fresh air on a cold day, to make sure we've got a bit of, we're feeding cold air into the place. And that's what these two control panels here are doing, then, is controlling those heaters. Okay, so there's a preset temperature on the controllers, which you'd set up to required temperature. The ventilation units then are looking at the return air temperature coming back to them, and which you want to be, say, 20 degrees C. You set the dial here to 20 degrees C, and it'll control to that temperature, bring the heating batteries on as and when they're needed to maintain that sort of temperature. There are other controllers for the heat recovery units, but they're up on the units themselves. So that's, once that's set, that's not an alterable item as such. And they're heading up behind the access hatches in the ceiling of the area. Okay, so that's the second major system, if you like, in the area, those heat recovery units. You can see the grills, the slot grills above the head here are where the supply is coming in. And there's some square egg crate grills where the air is going back up then to the heat recovery units within the area. Okay, the third major system then in the area is the air conditioning system, and there's three zones to that. There's one in the main area here, has got 4 cassettes in it. So that's the entrance space on here. There's then one cassette in the meeting room, and there's 2 cooling units in the gym area. So you can access via the screen here, so you can actually change the settings on the unit from the screen here. But it's all controlled from this area. There's no individual controls within the rooms themselves. It's set on the panel here. All you've got to do is hit the button for the area that you're after, and then you can change that temperature within that area. The cooling bit then is the condenser unit for the system then is out in the car park. So that's the bit that's providing the heating and the cooling, but the controller element of it is this part of the system here. Once you're into an area, then you can actually start changing the timings of that area as well. So we've set a time schedule on the meeting room, for instance, so it'll be controlling temperatures over a certain time during the day. If you want to shorten that or lengthen that, that's all control from the panel here. And obviously those instructions will be there for someone to operate in the future. But it's all touch screen, fairly logical as you run through that. Okay, so we're just in the lobby entrance door area for the reception area. And all we're showing here really is there's an air curtain above the door, which will give us an airflow, a heated airflow over the door as the doors are open, and also to control temperature in this area as well. So there's a control panel on the wall here, which you can adjust the airspeed for the fan running through there, so you can set that to what level's required. So that will be done on commissioning. If it's not right, then it can be adjusted, but it should be set. And then there's a temperature controller on the wall behind us, basically. So what it's detecting there is the temperature in this area. So if it's already warm, then you wouldn't get that blast of heat, but obviously when those doors are open in the winter, then it'd be cooled down, and that's when it'd be on to provide heat into the area and to provide that curtain of air over the door to stop heat going back out of the building. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. Maintenance access is via the hatch at the back end there, so there's obviously electrical supplies to it and a hot water supply to the air curtain there as well. Okay, but the main controls are here for the fan speed and there for the temperature.
The BMS head-end PC is an alarm repeater from the mechanical panel in the plant room. So any alarms on that plant room panel will be indicated on this PC, which then somebody would need to action those items depending on what the alarm was. If you set the fire alarm off when we turn the alarm's activation on, this will then tell you the fire alarm has gone off. Even though you have a fire alarm panel, it will still say the BMS fire alarm has triggered and requires some attendance. If you reset the fire alarm, that alarm will automatically reset. It requires no interference by any maintenance personnel. Some of the alarms on the system are automated, as in if it goes into fault, it will tell you there's a fault. If it clears itself without any intervention, the alarm also disappears from this system. Other alarms will require a manual intervention to say, I've fixed the fault, I've done this, this and this, and then it records that information as the log of the fault. So things like if a pump fails, it will latch the alarm on here, and until somebody types in an answer and the fact that it's been fixed, the alarm will permanently appear on this PC until such time as it's gone. Okay. At the moment, there's a level of login. You can't just simply walk up to the screen and press the buttons. It won't do anything unless you've logged on. There is a password again. That password's available in the O&M, and whoever the maintenance company would be, normally we would set them up as a user with their own logon and password. Ideally, the system should be set with every single person who's likely to interact with it with their own logon. Problems in the past we've experienced are if you give one logon and one password, everyone will deny the person that actually made the change that stopped something working. Whereas if they all have to log on individually, you know who made the wrong choice and stopped the system from working. So at the moment, if I select any of the items on here, it'll come up with the username and password. So once logged on for the plant room, it will then display the equipment in the same pipe layout as in the plant room. So we have two pictures of Hoval boilers, so at least the picture of the plant shows the plant you've got on the site. So when you say to somebody, my boiler's not working, and they go, what's the boiler? It's one of them, and it matches the picture of the plant that's in the plant room. So at least everybody knows that they're talking about the same bit of kit. Okay. On here we have the CHP, the buffer vessel, which is the massive great big one by the door, the two boilers, the gas supply, all of the pipe work within the plant room, and then your residential pumps and your ASDA heat exchanger pumps, the boiler pumps and the CHP pumps, which are the 4 sets of pumps that were down the far end of the plant room. Again, on here it will tell you which of the 2 pumps is running. So on this one it tells us that pump number 1 is running and pump number 2 is stopped at the moment, not running. So it gives the same with the red and green lights on the panel, or the green light and no green light. You get the same indication. Same with the flue fan, the fan in the plant room that's bringing fresh air into the plant room. We have an indication that the fan is running to show that the fan is enabled, etc. And you can also see all of the temperatures that are within the plant room. So hot water temperature from the boilers, 66 degrees, and the water currently going out to the building is at 40 degrees because they've got the boilers off while they're changing the ductwork in there at the moment. That would normally be running around 80 degrees. It's currently running at 40. Back to the main menu, and then the rest of your building, all of the floor plans for the building, including the roof layouts, are all available should anybody else wish to add future equipment. So if you were to say installed satellite TV systems in every single apartment, and they had a fault output that said that their satellite TV box wasn't working, you could literally link it to this system, and each of the flats are indicated on the drawings, their floor plans. You could put a little green light or a red light on each one of those graphics to say the satellite television is not working in that flat, etc. It's future-proof. On the plant room one, there's a number of small pictures of meters. What that does is it gives you the actual readings from the meters. This is the same as what the green screen will display. This displays it: gas, water and electric, solar PV, and then the three what they call heat meters, which are where all the heat in the system is going. So the heat in the system is 100%. If 40% of it's going to the residential, it'll tell you how much of the heat produced is used by the residential. It tells you how much of the heat is produced by the CHP and how much is used by ASDA's retail department. So if you need to charge the heat generation to ASDA, because you're in charge of the heat generation with the boiler, plant room, etc., that one's the number that you're exporting heat to ASDA's plant room. And that's where you can get your reading from should you need to. It is actually a billable reading. It's an industry standard heat meter which is billable. So the reading that's on it, you can bill against that reading. It's legally bound meter. When the fire alarm goes off, because the fire alarm is connected to our panel as well, because when the fire alarm trips, it stops all the plant in the plant room automatically. As soon as the fire alarm goes off, all of the plant stops, shuts down. When it resets, the plant will restart from whatever it was previously doing. The alarm will come on here if that is unreset, and when you reset that, this alarm will then clear to say there is no longer a fire alarm in the plant room.
And then it will switch it back on.
And then it will switch all the plant back on. Same as there's a stop button by the door in the plant room. If your concierge is working here, the man does something in the plant room, floods it, and hits the stop lock on his way out the door, the concierge would know before he ran back round and said the plant room's flooded, because this will say stop lock pressed. On here, there's a number of sample alarms. So those are the alarm charts as you would probably get. So on here it says boiler gas meters exceeded a high limit and is in fault, and these are all the ones that were the test alarms just to prove that the system worked. But that's basically what you get, is you get like an Excel spreadsheet displayed on the screen which will tell you when it occurred, the date it occurred, the time it occurred, whether it required an acknowledgement and who acknowledged the alarm. So this is where if you have everybody within a unique ID, if something is flicking into alarm every day and your concierge, rather than it beeping in his ear or flashing on the screen, is simply accepting it and not ringing anybody, then he would have to log on to do that. And this will keep a record of that log on and his acceptance of clearing that alarm. Yeah, historically, on most jobs, people have a tendency of going, and they never actually do anything until such time as somebody else says, this is no longer working, why isn't it working? Then they ring out the supplier, who comes out and goes, well, when did it stop? And the first answer you normally get is, I don't know. This keeps a log of when it actually did first start happening, and it will continue to keep that log as long as the PC is powered up.